In this video, we're going to identify angle pairs formed when two lines are crossed by what's called a transversal. So first, let's talk about what a transversal is. A transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. So line P is a transversal of lines Q and R. Lines Q and R are the lines that are intersected by the transversal. Lines R and Q are not transversals in this picture because line Q only intersects line P. Line R only intersects line P. It does not intersect two or more. Line P intersects both of those lines, and we can call it a transversal. Now, the transversal and the two lines break up the surface into different parts. So we have the things that are inside the two lines and the space that's outside the two lines. So we call the inside interior and the outside exterior. Next, we have the spaces that are in reference to the transversal. So when two angles are on the same side of the transversal, we call those same side angles, or another word for that is consecutive. Or when they're on different sides of the transversal, we call those alternate. So when something is alternating, they're on different sides. So when we put those two pictures together, you can see we have our sets of angles here that are either interior or exterior, alternate or same side. So angles 1 and 6 would be alternate angles. Angles 4 and 5 are on the same side of the transversal, so those would be consecutive angles. Now, angles 1 and 2 are both exterior angles. 1 and 7 are both exterior angles. Notice that 1 and 7 are also on different sides of the transversal, so we could describe that in both ways. We could say that those are alternate exterior angles. And those are the types of angle pairs that we're going to be looking at. So things like the four interior angles here. So the angles here that are interior are 3, 4, 5, and 6. The four exterior angles are 1, 2, 7, and 8. Then we have what are called consecutive interior angles. Those are the ones that are inside of the lines and on the same side of the transversal. So 3 and 6, they're on the same side of that transversal and they're inside the lines. 4 and 5 is another pair of consecutive interior angles. Also, the same side interior angles is another name for consecutive interior. Then we have what are called alternate interior angles. So the interior angles that are on different sides of the transversal, like 4 and 6, or 3 and 5. Those are different pairs of alternate interior angles. We have alternate exterior angles. So they're outside the two lines and on different sides of the transversal, like angles 1 and 7, or 2 and 8. And you can see those angle pairs here. Lastly, we have what are called corresponding angles. They lie on the same side of the transversal and on the same line's position. So, like angle 1 is in the top left of its set, and angle 5 is in the top left of its set down here. Like we have our set of angles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 and 5 are both in the top left. 2 and 6 are both in the top right. That would be a set of corresponding angles. Corresponding means to match up, so they're in the same position. 4 would be corresponding with 8. 3 would be corresponding with 7. Then lastly, we have consecutive exterior angles. So they're on the same side of the transversal, like 1 and 8, and they're both exterior. So outside of the two lines are 1 and 8. Or on this side of this transversal, we have 2 and 7 that are both exterior angles, and on the same side of the transversal. Okay, a closer picture here of what we have. So again, all of those angle pairs from that picture. Okay, the outside and inside of the lines, and that transversal T. All right, identify the transversal connecting each pair of angles. So angles 1 and 3 are here. The transversal that cuts through those is this line H. So the line that cuts through those other two lines is line H. Notice that these are outside the two lines, and they're on different sides of that line H. So those are alternate exterior angles. 5 and 6. 5 is here and here. The transversal that cuts both of those angles is line K. And they are consecutive interior angles. They're inside lines J and L, and they're on the same side of that transversal K. All right, 2 and 6. The line that cuts through the other two lines for those angles is line L. And 2 and 6 are both in the bottom right of their sets of angles. And so those are corresponding angles. Okay, these here, I want you guys to try. You can base those on the picture up here. All right, we're going to use this figure to answer some questions. Suppose line A is the transversal for the other two lines. Name a pair of corresponding angles. Well, you could have angles 1 and 5, 2 and 6. Remember, corresponding means same position. You could also have 3 and 7. Those are in the same position. Or 4 and 8. Name a pair of same side interior angles. Well, inside the two lines B and C and on the same side of the transversal A is 4 and 5. Or 3 and 6. Both of those would be same side interior angles for part B. Part C says to name a pair of alternate exterior angles. So we need to have angles that are outside the two lines that are on different sides of the transversal. So angle 2 on the other side of the transversal and outside the line would be angle 8. So 2 and 8. Or 1 on the different side of the transversal A from 7. All right, now suppose that B is your transversal for lines A and C. So what would be a pair of alternate interior angles? Well, the two lines that would be inside would be A and C. We want different sides of that transversal B. So I'm on the top side, so I need to be on the bottom side and inside those two lines. So angles 1 and 11 or 10 and 4. Name a pair of same side exterior angles. So outside the two lines A and C, but on the same side of the transversal. So like 3 and 12 or 9 and 2. We're outside lines A and C and on the same side of that transversal. All right, name a pair of corresponding angles. Well, which angle would be corresponding to 2? That's in the upper right-hand side. So I'm going to look here, and the upper right-hand side would be 10. 3 would be corresponding with 11. 4 would be corresponding with 12. And 1 would be corresponding with 9. Okay, next, which line would be the transversal if the following conditions are true? If 10 and 1 are same side interior angles. Okay, so 10 and 1 are same side interior. Well, they are inside lines A and C, so B would have to be our transversal. in order for 12 and 5 to be alternate interior angles? Well, they're inside the lines B and A, and the transversal that cuts through those two lines would be C. So that would be our transversal for 12 and 5 to be alternate interior. For 12 and 3 to be same side exterior angles. They're outside the two lines A and C on the same side of that transversal B. And in order for 1 and 5 to be corresponding in the same position, A would have to cut through B and C. So A would be our transversal. In class, we're going to practice how to identify these different angle pairs using different lines and transversals. And we'll also start to develop the relationships when those lines happen to be parallel that are crossed by that transversal.